American Christianity is dead. It's over. It's gone. Everyone's left. There's no one there. Possibly one person in church crying in the corner. And that's it. There's no hope. We're finished. We're done. Apparently. I mean, now to be fair, the initial stats on this don't look great. There's a whole bunch of them. I'll not give them all to you. The amount of people who call themselves Protestants is down significantly over the last decade. Catholic as well is down over the last decade. The amount of people who regularly attend any sort of religious service is also down. And of course, everybody is freaking out about the rise of the nuns. You read these articles in Christian magazines and it's like the nuns are coming and they're taking over and that's the future. The nuns are the religiously non-affiliated, by the way, N-O-N-E-S. And that group has grown. They've gone from like 12% to 17% in roughly a decade. So that is significant growth and it is a factor in modern Christianity in the West and in America. So yeah, we are finished, right? That's it. You know, get the death certificate signed. Time of death of the American church sometime in 2023. Or is it? Now, as you might have guessed, I am not American. I am simply from the place that every American wishes they were from, namely Ireland. If we're going to be more specific, I'm actually from Northern Ireland. They destroy her Union Jack. But we don't need to get into politics this early on my first video. So why am I talking about America? It's very simple. I'm a Christian, I'm part of the Anglosphere, I'm part of the West, and what happens in America affects all the rest of us. So all of the decline there, all of the cultural changes that happen there, they ultimately reach out into the rest of the world because America is the center of the world right now. It just is. Let me explain it this way. America is the big toe of the world, okay? And when it slams into a table, everywhere else doubles over in pain. But here's the thing, it's not the full story. There's the old saying, there's lies, there's darned lies. This is a Christian YouTube channel. Darned lies, we'll go with that one. And statistics. And if you look further at the statistics, what you'll see is that the decline of American Christianity is not a broad decline. It is a specific decline focused in on a specific kind of church. Let me tell you the story of Eastlake Church. It was planted in Seattle, so it's a very secular part of the country. And they started off small, and they grew fast, and they ultimately ended up becoming a megachurch. And then one day, seemingly overnight, it wasn't quite overnight, but in like a 2-week period, it went from that megachurch to rapid decline, falling off a cliff. No one was showing up anymore. Now what happened? It was very simple. One day the pastor stood up and said, we are no longer going to follow what the Bible says about sexuality. They became quote unquote affirming, right? And if you want to know where that ultimately led to, here's the pastor now.
And from there we really made a lot of shifts, and all of a sudden I think we were something like a progressive Christian church. I don't know what we ended up, you know, a not church or some sort of interfaith spiritual goulash. The slippery slope is real. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. I know that phrase is used negatively, but sometime if I write a book, I may have a chapter called My Fantastic Ride Down the Slippery Slope.
Now that's just one example, but it demonstrates a broader principle. When you look at the churches that are growing in America, of which there are many, and you compare them to those that are declining, what you'll see is that they actually believe very different things. There was a survey that asked the leaders of growing churches and declining churches what they believed about certain things. In one question they asked, do you agree that Christians have unique access to a supernatural power that non-Christians don't have the same access to? Or, as you might put it in layman's terms, do you believe that Christians have a relationship with God? In growing churches, 77% of pastors strongly agreed. I would like that to be 100%, but it's 77%. It's a high percentage. Do you know how many pastors of declining churches agreed with that statement? 0. Not one.
Incorrect.
In growing churches, pretty much every pastor strongly agrees that Jesus actually rose from the dead. In declining churches, only 40% of pastors agree at all that Jesus rose from the dead.
Way too low.
Which is the cornerstone of the Christian faith. It is the foundation of everything. It's the thing that Paul says that if it didn't happen, the whole thing is pointless. So basically the pastors of declining churches don't believe in God and don't believe in the resurrection of Jesus. So they're not Christians.
Oh, that makes sense.
And surprise, surprise, this doesn't work.
13's Kelly Ryan talked to the pastor and members who say
They're part of an increasing number of churches closing their doors because of what they call cultural changes.
Is the minister of Ragsdale Church of Christ, or he was, until he closed it this past March.
America's oldest churches, located right here in Connecticut, has been sold.
An historic church in Marysville that began in the 1800s is now closing its doors.
From 2007 to 2014, mainline Protestant denominations, all of which went liberal, they declined by at least 5 million members and possibly as much as 7 million members. And just think of all the big names of liberal Christianity from that time period. Just think of Rob Bell. Has anybody heard from him recently? Is he still pastoring a large church? No, he's gone, he's disappeared. Nobody is listening to him anymore because he went liberal. So all of the decline, all of it, is in liberal churches. So when you look at how many people are going to the Episcopalian church and you see that there's like 4 people there and a cat, you need to realise that it's because they went liberal and everybody left. There is a decline happening. There is. It's happening in churches that have abandoned Christianity. But it's only half of the story. There's another half to that story though. What about the churches that have actually held the faith? What about the ones that still believe? Well, it turns out that biblical churches are not declining at all in America. In fact, if anything, they're on the rise. Let me give you a barrage of stats to prove my point and cheer you up. Indiana University and Harvard did a bunch of research, and what they found is that the percentage of evangelicals in 1972 in America was about 18% of the population. By the late 80s and through to today, that percentage is actually at 28%. It's higher.
Way more.
Ooh.
So the Bible-believing portion of Christianity has grown, not just in keeping with population growth, but actually surpassing it quite significantly. And compared to the history of the US, it's actually a time of relative spiritual health. In 1776, when America was founded, only 17% of Americans regularly attended church.
You fribble!
In the 1800s, it was up around 30%. In the 1900s, it was about 50%. And today, it's about 70% who consider themselves at least to be part of some church. And yes, there's issues and yes, there's problems, but that is a significant improvement since the founding of the country. And that's not even the big story. The big story is this: the rise of non-denominational churches. Non-denominational churches did not exist in basically any capacity just a generation ago. Right now, they're the biggest and fastest growing thing in the Christian world, full stop. There's a guy called Barry Cosman. He is the head of some department somewhere that studies these kind of things.
I have no idea what that is.
And he said this: the rise of non-denominational Christianity is probably one of the strongest religious growth trends in the last 2 decades. And the percentage gain of these churches is far bigger than the rise of the nuns. And here's the thing about these churches: they're not perfect, I understand that. But they believe the Bible, they tend to be conservative, they tend to focus on practice, and they tend to be charismatic. But that's a different video.
I want it now!
These churches gain roughly 5 new members for every one that they lose to religious switching. There's 5 people coming in for every one that stops being a Christian, right? If there is a story about American Christianity at the moment, it is the meteoric rise of non-denominational churches. And I agree, there's some theological illiteracy, there are some issues there, but if we look at how much people are praying, how much people are studying the Bible, how much people are sharing their faith, all of these measures have improved over the last few decades. And this is good news, right? The church, where it is biblical, is in fact growing. So, what is the lesson in all of this? I'm going to tell you in just a moment, but first I need to fund this channel. Now I know what you're thinking. Jamie, you look incredibly handsome today. What is it about you? There's something different and you look terrific. Well, I'll tell you what it is. I am wearing a t-shirt by, and this channel is in partnership with, can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. I don't even know if I pointed in the right place. It's Contra Mundum. Their aim is to make Christian apparel that doesn't suck, because most of it's cheesy and you wouldn't want to wear it. Their stuff you actually would. You can see some of it behind me. They do hoodies and sweatshirts and t-shirts and mugs and phone covers. You should check that out. It's wearecontramundum.com. You can also support me on Patreon or through PayPal. There's different levels of support. We've got the cheaper than a cup of coffee level. We've got the free drinkware level. We've got the free merch level. All of these different kind of things. And of course, you need to like and subscribe because that helps get this video out to more people. Thank you for your help. Let's get back to the video. Here's the lesson. we are not seeing the death of American Christianity. We're seeing its refining. For every Eastlake, for every church that shuts down because it goes liberal, there are churches popping up that are faithful and biblical and living out their Christianity. And the reason why they're thriving, I mean, it's very simple, right? People don't go to church to get something other than Christianity. When someone is going to church, what they want when they get there is real Christianity. That's what they're looking for. If I have never eaten chocolate before, if I am not a chocolater or a chocolatian, and I decide that I want to try chocolate, find out something about this chocolate, and I walk into a shop that says chocolate on it, and when I go in, they sell engine parts, and I shatter my jaw, do you know what? I'm not going to come back.
You're in so much pain, huh?
And that's what people do with these liberal churches. They go there looking for Christianity, they realise there's no Christianity here, and they don't come back. And if there's one stat you need to know about that, it's this one. Same-sex attracted people are 2.5 times more likely to attend a church that does not affirm that lifestyle than one that does. 2.5 times. It turns out that the churches that a lot of people accuse of quote-unquote hating the gays actually don't, actually love them, actually welcome them, actually want them to come to faith, and people that are looking for Christianity actually show up to those churches. It's not rocket science. Churches should be Christian. So if you want to have half-baked Christianity, you want to play at it, you want to morph it, you want to put that title on it and stuff something else in there, you are free to do so, but I'm telling you this, it will not work. But where the church believes what it has always believed, where the church believes the Bible, where the church preaches and teaches and lives according to the Bible, here's the amazing thing. God blesses it and it works. And it doesn't just work when the culture's friendly to it, it works when the culture is hostile to it. So is the church in America dead? Not by a long shot. And that's a good thing. Thank God for that. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, I have another one on a key element of Christianity in America and the West, so you need to check that one out next. USA! USA!